investigating a tragedy.
As far as I know, it's unprecedented.
The people under scrutiny after the shooting of a police trainee.
A performance with a purpose. The message these dancers were sending in downtown Baltimore.
Don't get used to the mild weather. Wind temperatures will take a drop, and our next chance for snow in my Skywatch forecast.
And the lone survivor.
For whatever reason, just felt like you needed to look back and check.
How a college student escaped the deadly shooting in College Park.
Live in high definition from WBFF in Baltimore. This is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Gilbert.
And I'm Jeff Barn. The investigation moves ahead in the shooting of a police trainee.
Tonight, we know the identity of the instructor who is believed to have pulled the trigger. And as crime and justice reporter Joy LaPola tells us, William S. Kern may have been in a rush to get back to the training academy just before things went terribly wrong.
An 18-year veteran facing a criminal investigation after he shoots a police trainee in the head. The shooting occurred during a training exercise at the former Rosewood State Hospital. It was the first time the city's police academy had used the facility. Dr. Tyrone Powers is a state-certified trainer.
As far as I know, it's unprecedented looking at training academies across the country, whether they be on the local, state, or federal level.
Baltimore City Police say Officer William S. Kern is suspended along with 5 other officers from the academy.
Sometimes with revolvers, we don't do the whole weapon in red, but we do the handle in red or in yellow.
Experts say even if Kern didn't realize he was holding his service weapon, others should have. During any scenario-based training, Powers says weapons are clearly marked, so this sort of thing doesn't happen. On Tuesday, sources say Kern was coming back from a break and may have been running late.
And running late or any other excuse in this kind of a situation is unacceptable because safety is the highest priority.
Tonight, Maryland State Police are actively in search of answers. An investigation that will likely include a review of the Maryland Police Training Commission. The last time Baltimore experienced a tragedy of this magnitude, a female fire cadet died. She was trapped in a burning building.
But we failed her.
Following the investigation into Cadet Rachel Wilson's death, the head of the fire department's training academy was fired, and it was determined that national training standards were violated. And in the case of the University of Maryland police rookie shot this week, the investigation is just beginning. It could be some time before we know everyone who will be held accountable. Joy LaPola, Fox 45, News at 10.
And the other story we are keeping a very close eye on tonight, that crippled cruise ship being towed toward land. It is now very near the port in Mobile, Alabama. Here is a live look at the ship. You can see it is very close to port right now, just a few lights on because the Coast Guard did deliver a generator. It is expected to dock very soon, but it could take still several hours to get everybody off that ship. Now, you'll remember it left port a week ago, but a fire in the engine room knocked out power, creating absolutely awful living conditions on board. And we are learning more about what happened on board now that the ship is in cell phone range.
We were told to use plastic bags and tie them up and then put them out in the hallway for somebody to pick them up. And then once the commodes got full, use the shower.
It's just awful. The Triumph is actually flagged in the Bahamas, so the Bahamas Maritime Authority will be conducting the investigation. Legal experts say it may be difficult for passengers to sue for damages.
First on Fox now, a criminal investigation is underway into a missing assault rifle that belongs to the State Department of Natural Resources. Fox 45 News obtained an internal memo regarding an M16 assault-style rifle. Now, officials confirm they are investigating this matter, but they're not certain if it was stolen or lost because of lax record keeping. 2 years ago, a federal audit found the department's gun logs to be inaccurate and outdated.
Rifle. We determined that it was missing as part of our 2013 audit. So right now it's a criminal investigation.
Now the rifle serial number has been entered into the national database of stolen weapons.
Tonight, we hear from the stepfather of the only survivor from the shooting that left 2 College Park students dead. Janice Park tells us Neil O. is alive today because he ran for his life. Janice.
Hi, Jennifer. Well, incredibly, 22-year-old Neil O. is up and walking just a few days after being shot by his roommate. Tonight, disturbing new information is coming out, including that the roommates knew the shooter had kept guns in the house. Police say charcoal briquettes were used to set a series of fires at the off-campus home shared by 5 University of Maryland students. Quickly following the fires would be a hail of bullets on the front lawn. Undergraduate Neil O., seen being wheeled away here, is the sole survivor of Tuesday's murder-suicide. Instincts may have saved his life. O's stepfather, Chris Mertz.
For whatever reason, Neil just felt like he needed to look back and check, and he saw the gun coming out of his pocket, and he turned to run, and that's when he got shot.
Police say grad student Davon Green shot both of his roommates. O was shot in the leg as he ran for his life to a neighbor's house.
He got up and ran as fast as he could, ran to a neighbor's house, and thank God she, let him in the door and provided sanctuary for him.
Roommate Stephen Rain was shot to death on the front lawn. Green then headed to the backyard and turned the gun on himself. According to the stepfather, the roommates knew Green had guns in the house, but had no idea that he was struggling with a mental illness. They only described Green as different.
I guess they were a little bit leery of him for whatever their reasons were, but having a couple of guns in the house was, gave them some pause for concern, but he's allowed to have them.
And Neil O. plans to complete his semester at the University of Maryland, but he will be moving out of that house. Janice Park, Fox 45, News at 10.
Thank you, Janice. Friends and family gathered to remember Jennifer Conyers, the Baltimore woman found murdered in her home last week. A funeral was held today at Sharp Street Memorial United Methodist Church. Conyers was found dead on Friday in a house fire on Highgate Drive in northwest Baltimore. Police say she was tied up with electrical cords and beaten. Monty Carter is charged with her murder. Police say the two met on a dating website months ago.
Howard County Police have arrested a man accused of exposing himself at the mall in Columbia. These surveillance photographs were released last month after a man exposed himself while following several girls at the mall. Police have now identified tonight that suspect as 49-year-old Stephen Lehrer. He was arrested Wednesday night after a mall worker saw him touching himself inappropriately in the food court. Lehrer's charged tonight with 2 counts of indecent exposure. Police were investigating whether he was also involved in possibly a third incident. Baltimore City residents pay a painfully high property tax already, but is that enough? The mayor now wants to charge a fee for trash pickup. Keith Daniels live at City Hall, where opponents are calling the mayor's hotly debated proposal garbage. Keith.
Well, Jeff, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake floated the idea earlier this week at her State of the City address here at City Hall, and tonight it's a proposal that stunned some city residents. Nancy McCauley has lived in Baltimore City on Keswick Drive for most of her life, nearly 80 years, and she's never considered the cost of her garbage until now.
Perhaps we should go back to burning it, which is what we did when I was a kid.
McCauley is among those city residents who are outraged over a new proposal from City Hall.
We must create a new solid waste enterprise for trash.
Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake wants to charge residents for trash collection, a fee for a weekly service that had until now been free. But McCauley says that's why she pays her property taxes.
She's double dipping. They frown on that when it comes to ordinary people. Why is she taking 2 times out of my pocket for trash?
The mayor says the new trash fee would also be charged to those not currently paying property taxes, like nonprofits. She says the savings would be used to lower the city's property tax rate, which is the highest in the region. She can't say now how much the fee would be. She says details are coming soon. And that delay is causing concern at City Hall for some, including one councilman who says his constituents want details now.
What I'm asking my citizens and all the citizens to do is wait until we, the council, get the full details so that we can fully understand exactly what the administration is looking for. But also, I would say that, you know, I'll be doing the research to see how this is done in other cities.
When I was a kid, we had very little trash. We had ashes because we had coal furnaces.
Well, the mayor did say yesterday that she'll be rolling out details of how the plan will work next week. We're live now at City Hall. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News at 10.
All right, Keith, thanks so much. So here's our question for you. It's our question of the day. Do you agree with the mayor's plan to charge a fee for trash pickup? Just go to foxbaltimore.com and tell us what you think. A lot of you don't like this idea. Sound off through Facebook. Send us a tweet at Fox Baltimore. Text your answer to 45203. Enter Fox 45A for yes, Fox 45B for no. Of course, it's still Valentine's Day, but this year for some, the traditional gift of chocolates just won't work.
That's right. This year, the biggest day of the year for candy makers falls during Lent, and sales will be down between 5 and 10%. Nonetheless, the numbers for items like chocolate-covered strawberries here at Walk & Foos Candies are impressive. Before noon, they dipped almost 600 pounds of strawberries. Of course, for many, chocolate is still the perfect gift on Valentine's Day, but not as far as the owner's wife is concerned.
It's not considered a gift. It doesn't show that I cared enough if I just grab a box of candy from work and took it home. So I usually have to shop for jewelry.
Oh, it's good either way. The National Retail Federation estimates the average person spends $130 on Valentine's Day, gifts and food. Well, $1 billion rising in Baltimore. It's an initiative to end violence against women this Valentine's Day.
Karen Park standing by live at the Washington Monument in Mount Vernon, where the festivities began earlier this evening. Karen.
Jennifer and Jeff, it started with a flash mob here at the Washington Monument and ended with a march down Charles Street. It's a worldwide effort to end violence against women.
Women dancing. Women marching. Standing up against violence this Valentine's Day.
1 in 3 women worldwide will be a victim of a rape or a brutal beating.
A worldwide campaign, 1 billion rising.
We're asking people all over the world, 1 billion people, to stand up in support of this movement.
Bringing awareness to a problem that affects so many women.
You can see here, there's all ages, all colors of women here.
Lavesta Jackson Crute remembers a friend.
We were probably in 11th grade and he used to beat her up in 12th grade. Then she married him and it kept on.
Stories many of these women shared.
And women are abused and beaten and violated every day all over the world, and we need to stop that. It's time.
It's a movement for some that has lasted decades.
So we marched for women's lib in the 60s, and this is coming full circle, and it's important to support the young people who are supporting this now.
Organizers say this worldwide movement is the largest day of action in the history of Valentine's Day. Reporting live here at the Washington Monument, Karen Parks, Fox 45 News at 10.
Oh, it's horrible. I feel real bad.
3 people injured in a blaze in Harford County. The problem that may have slowed down the victims trying to escape.
I don't think I've ever seen kids walking to and from school.
A few slivers of road not covered by speed cameras in Baltimore. It's our cover story in 15 minutes on Fox 45 News at 10.
Because you never know when you wake up what you're going to face that day with him.
But coming up next, love expressed in words. Find out how they met and his surprise gift for her on the other side of the break.
And it looks like right now on HD radar, we just have a few high thin clouds, mainly to the north and west of the area. Scanning the skies over the region, nothing going on, but that will be changing as we get into tomorrow night. And I'll show you what type of precipitation we'll be dealing with coming up in my forecast.
Breaking news tonight in Mobile, Alabama. Take a look. The Carnival cruise ship Triumph finally coming into port after a week at sea. This was this nightmare cruise where there was a fire, the power was knocked out. You've got 3,000 passengers on this ship, plus another 1,000 crew members. They've been living in horrible conditions, eating onion sandwiches, no food, no water, no place to go to the bathroom. Finally, pulling into port tonight. The ship was still moving just a few minutes ago. We're at the point now where we can actually see passengers there on the ship that are waving to people ashore. You can only imagine how anxious they are to get off that boat. But even though it's close to docking, it will still take several hours before all of those people, 3,000 passengers plus crew, can finally get off that boat. It has been a nightmare cruise. We're continuing to follow this story as it develops in Mobile, Alabama tonight.
Meantime, back here at home, Maryland's death penalty is front and center now in Annapolis. The governor wants lawmakers to abolish capital punishment, but John Rydell reports tonight not everybody supports a repeal.
Kirk Bloodsworth is a familiar face in Annapolis, but for years he was incarcerated and spent 2 years on Maryland's death row for a murder he didn't commit.
You could have been executed. It's possible, absolutely. I mean, you don't know. I mean, I was sentenced to death.
But Bloodsworth was eventually exonerated thanks to DNA evidence. He is now a tireless advocate for repealing the death penalty.
It's a horrible thing for anybody to endure. No Marylander should ever face this again.
In a Senate committee, Bloodsworth listened as Governor O'Malley urged lawmakers to abolish capital punishment.
The death penalty does not make us stronger or more secure as a people, nor does the death penalty make our laws more effective or more just.
The governor's bill also includes an appropriation of $500,000 to go to a fund for crime victims, money the governor says would be better spent there than on costly appeals in death penalty cases. But since Maryland's death penalty has essentially been put on hold in light of a Court of Appeals decision, some prosecutors say state spending on appeals is non-existent.
Nothing. I mean, I haven't seen anything filed in any capital case.
People kill people. But Mike Hill, who lives in Cape St. Clair, still supports the death penalty.
Because we need to send a message to the criminals that there is an ultimate penalty for committing murder.
20 years ago, Hill's younger brother, Jerry Lee Haynes, was stabbed to death. Brian Tate, the teenager convicted, did not face the death penalty. He was too young. But Hill still worries about the day when Tate will be released.
And he is in there with life, and that one day he will walk the streets. Yeah, that's upsetting.
But death penalty opponents believe they have enough votes to finally repeal Maryland's ultimate punishment. In Annapolis, John Rydell, Fox 45 News at 10.
Now, 4 years ago, state lawmakers restricted when prosecutors can actually seek the death sentence. They can only pursue capital cases if there is DNA evidence, videotape of the crime, or videotape confessions from a suspect.
A judge has denied former Anne Arundel County Executive John Leopold's motion for a new trial. Retired Circuit Court Judge Dennis Sweeney denied the motion on Wednesday, saying the request was without merit. Sweeney convicted Leopold of misconduct in office last month, and Leopold resigned days later. He is scheduled to be sentenced March 14th. Tomorrow is the deadline for candidates to apply for the vacant county executive position.
New tonight, the medical examiner of the state of California has positively identified the remains of Christopher Dorner, the former police officer accused of killing 4 people in a rampage against the police force in L.A. Now, 2 people taken hostage by a man believed to be Dorner are now speaking out. Jim and Karen Reynolds own Mountain Vista Resort, where Dorner allegedly took over a cabin before entering into a gun battle with deputies. Now, the couple says he showed up at the resort on Tuesday, pointed a gun at them, and then tied them up.
He had his gun drawn the whole time.
He had the gun drawn, showing with the black.
Did you know it was him?
Yes.
Oh, yes, as soon as I saw him.
Yes.
How long were you in there with him? How long? About 15 minutes.
It felt a lot longer.
After the shootout, the cabin the suspect was in was set on fire. Investigators discovered Dorner's charred body inside. Valentine's Day is often filled with flowers, chocolate, and romantic dinners for 2, of course.
But Kathleen Cairns finds a true love story that only words can describe.
I said, what are you doing?
If a picture
Look at her.
is worth 1,000 words,
Yeah, we laugh a lot.
Yeah, we do.
A whole lot. More than you could imagine.
then this couple could make a book.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that keeps us both going, you know?
Jim and Diane met more than a decade ago.
Jim and me met
Tell her where we met.
at one. We met, he was one of my patients.
Rehab for my first stroke.
From caretaker
They put a feeding tube in him because he could not swallow.
to something words can't describe.
How I really knew what love was is because being with her, I can't define it at all.
And together they've lived life and faced near death.
Because you never know when you wake up what you're going to face that day with him.
And it's Jim's words
I have something to give Diane.
that have led to this
But-
picture.
Diane, you gotta get, it's behind the couch, between the wheelchair and the couch.
A surprise.
I had Amy, the speech teacher, move it all over the place yesterday. The letter I wrote to you.
Not a traditional gift,
A woman who stands by me, behind me, and in front of me to protect me as I will her.
but one from the heart.
A woman who does not mind being hugged with one arm. When we sit and talk and laugh, I realize that it's okay that I don't walk.
As they hold hands, this love story goes to show
A woman that does so much more than people realize.
sometimes it takes just a few words.
She is my woman, my lady, my lover, and my best friend. And all I can say is thank you. I love you.
To make
Jim.
the picture. In Baltimore County,
I love you, hon.
I love you too.
Kathleen Cairns, Fox 45,
Better than chocolate.
News at 10.
Isn't that great?
It is a great story. Well, the couple is from Ohio.
But they moved to Baltimore County so Jim could have better access, of course, to Johns Hopkins Hospital.
It's a great story
Yes,
on this
it is.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
we
it is.
actually had great weather to go along with it, too.
I'm telling you, no complaints. It started out a little messy, but it ended well. And let's see if we're going to keep our luck or if things are going to go downhill from here, Vetus.
Well, it looks like we've been seeing a little bit of a couple of little systems pushing through every few days. And we have another one that's going to scoot through as we get into tomorrow night. In fact, your headlines look like this. Mostly clear now. It looks like we have mostly cloudy skies for tomorrow. And then we'll see rain mixing with snow late. And it looks like that chance for some mixing going on, possibly about an inch or less possible across the city, closer to the PA line, maybe 1 to 3 potential. But we have to monitor this closely to see how this transpires as the storm gets a little closer and develops. But you can see right now on radar satellite, clear skies back to the west, a few high thin clouds. We'll continue to see those clouds filter in more as we go through the overnight into tomorrow. 35 in Baltimore right now, 38 in Hagerstown. Down in Salisbury looking at 34 degrees with those winds coming out of the south-southwest. Changing to the west as we get through the day tomorrow. So expect tonight to see temperatures down to right around 36 degrees with clouds gathering through the overnight. I'll have a closer look at that storm and show you what your weekend will shape up like coming up in my forecast.
Sorry you missed Vetus dancing to Beyonce, but from the inauguration to the Super Bowl halftime show to a nationwide tour, Beyonce certainly is having a huge year. Beyonce is coming to the Verizon Center July 29th. That show sold out within minutes, so she added a second show the very next night. Tickets go on sale through Live Nation tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. But we want to get you into the show completely for free. Tomorrow on Fox 45 Morning News, we're giving away a pair of passes to the show. So please stay tuned for your chance to win, and good luck. All right, we're still following this breaking news out of Mobile, Alabama. The crippled cruise liner Triumph approaching port finally now. We'll keep an eye on the story as it continues to develop.
2 young children injured in this fire. The simple problem with smoke detectors that may have slowed their escape. In 10 minutes on Fox 45 News at 10.
This is government run amok. It's like they're putting the cameras down and then they're looking for the school second.
Fighting to change the rules on speed cameras, what it could very well mean for Maryland motorists.
When lawmakers approved the use of speed cameras in Maryland, they did it, they say, with children in mind.
State law only allows them to operate if they're located within 1/2 mile of a school.
Critics complain there are now dozens of new school zones where there are no schools, but plenty of cameras.
In tonight's cover story, Jeff Abel examines why many motorists now say it's nothing short of a complete scam.
At the intersection of Lake and Charles, there's no mistaking you're in the zone, a school zone where you'll be hard-pressed to find a school. But what you will find is a speed camera, which is only allowed to operate within 1/2 mile of a school. In this case, that school is around the corner, down the hill, 1/3 of a mile away. It's Bryn Mawr, a private school for girls.
If you've ever been to Bryn Mawr, you know that they have a private driveway. Nobody walks to school there.
We wanted to know just how many students do use the school zone. So at the end of one school day this week, our cameras kept watch. For 1 hour, we captured the lights changing, the cars racing, the speed camera watching. But not once did we find a student crossing this stretch of Charles.
I don't think I've ever seen kids walking to and from school.
About a mile away, there's another school zone where Nikki Connolly has lived for the past 2 years. Outside her window, she's watched as a camera snaps speeding motorists, but the school children it's supposed to protect are nowhere to be found.
We really don't have any school traffic, no grade school kids or younger kids. We do see some joggers from the university.
You'll be hard-pressed to find any area of the city that's not speed camera eligible. There are dozens of schools throughout the city, and when the 1/2 mile around them becomes a school zone, the majority of the city becomes speed camera eligible. In fact, about the only places in the city that aren't in school zones include this sliver of land along Cold Spring Lane. Or the dozens of acres here at Clifton Park are free from speed cameras too. Or here in the heart of Druid Hill Park, where the closest school is more than 1/2 mile away, making most of the park here speed camera free.
This is government run amok. It's like they're putting the cameras down and then they're looking for the school second.
State Senator Jim Brochin says speed cameras are turning up in places lawmakers never envisioned. He's sponsoring legislation which would shrink the size of school zones from 1/2 mile to 500 feet. In Baltimore, it would mean a lot more roads with a lot fewer cameras.
Legislative intent was that speed cameras in communities were supposed to be there to protect kids. If it's supposed to be about that, then let's make it be about that. If it's supposed to be about the money, then just make it be about the money. Just stop this pretense and just say, you know what, we're a little short on revenue. We'd like $13 million a year, and we're going to put them wherever we want.
In November, the former chairman of the city's speed camera task force insisted the larger school zones are critical because city school students who walk to school typically take a larger, more involved route.
It's not kids walking straight lines, right? So the radius is helpful in that regard.
The city insists the cameras are slowing traffic and reducing crashes, but where Nikki Connolly lives,
Actually, it's probably causing more accidents than anything else.
in some school zones, there could be more cameras than kids.
I'm sure it works for the city, but does it work for the neighborhood? I'm not convinced about that.
Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News at 10.
Until recently, the city of Baltimore used virtually any school, including daycares and also colleges, to establish so-called school zones for our safety.
Well, now it's strictly creating school zones based on schools that are K through 12.
A warning tonight about what's in your cookware that could be harmful solely to women.
The problem with fire detectors that may have slowed people down trying to escape from this fire. Right after the break.
And right now we're looking at temperatures in the 30s across the area. It's going to be a cold night after a decent day, but those temperatures will rebound a little bit before we start seeing a storm push up out of the southwest, giving us a chance for rain and snow. I'll show you when it'll arrive coming up next.
New at 10:30 tonight, 3 people are hurt after fire sweeps through an apartment in Aberdeen. The victims include 2 children, ages 2 and 4. Melinda Roeder explains why their escape may have been delayed.
Fighting the flames didn't take long.
662,
But recovery will be a much tougher fight for a mother and 2 young children left badly burned. The fire broke out around 10 o'clock Thursday morning. Investigators say it started in an upstairs bedroom.
There was heavy smoke conditions coming from the second-floor apartment.
The family somehow made their way outside by the time fire trucks arrived, but the children, ages 2 and 4, and their 26-year-old mother are all hospitalized tonight with severe burns on their upper bodies.
Feel horrible.
Neighbors now pray they'll all survive.
Oh, it's horrible. Feel real bad. Hope everybody's gonna be all right.
Meantime, fire officials want to remind everyone to check your smoke detector. There were no batteries inside the alarms at this house, which may have cost the victims precious moments in making their escape.
Well, you can't never say what would have happened, but we do know that smoke alarms are early detection devices that have warned you to be able to get out of the place where there's a fire that has occurred.
Investigators spend hours sifting through the damage, a burned mattress and bed covers. They're still not sure what exactly sparked the flames, but they plan to speak with the victims when they're well enough to talk. Melinda Roeder, Fox 45 News at 10.
The landlord says at least one parent's a smoker. The state fire marshal is investigating that as a potential cause.
We continue our breaking news now in Mobile, Alabama. We are going to take you live to a news conference that is underway there with the president of Carnival Cruise Lines, Jerry Cahill. Let's listen in.
How hard our crew has worked. And I appreciate the patience of our guests and their ability to cope with the situation. And I'd like to reiterate the apology I made earlier. I know the conditions on board were very poor. I know it was very difficult. And I want to apologize again for subjecting our guests to that. We pride ourselves in providing our guests with a great vacation experience, and clearly we failed in this particular case. Now, there's one other thing. I know we have been making media updates as we've gone throughout the course of the day, providing the status of what's going on with the ship and all. It's our plan to continue those. We will continue those past the last guests getting off the ship and starting on their way home. We know that we have gotten our guests back to land. Now we need to get them home, and we have the full resources of Carnival are working from here to get them home as quickly as we possibly can. Now, the most important thing for me at this point in time is to go on board and to apologize to our guests. Once I finish that, I'm going to walk around and I'm going to try and help to expedite the process of getting them off and getting them on their way as quickly as I can. So right now, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on board and I'm going to apologize to the guests. Thank you very much.
All right, you are listening to a live news conference in Mobile, Alabama. Jerry Cahill, the president of Carnival Cruise Lines, about to go on board that disabled cruise liner and apologize personally to the 3,000 guests that are on board that have been on just this nightmare cruise without power and terrible conditions. The president of Carnival Cruise Lines there apologizing in his news conference, saying he understands the conditions were very poor and that he apologized to the guest for being subjected to what occurred on that cruise liner.
I would imagine all those people really, I mean, I'm sure they want to hear an apology. They just want to get off that vessel at this
cannot imagine the reception he's going to get going on board that cruise ship right now because, while the apology might be appreciated, they want to get off that ship.
They want to get off that vessel ASAP, and it took a long time for them to dock simply because it was dark outside. It is a very shallow area where they're docking, which took longer, and those tugboats were doing, what, 7, 8 knots?
Yeah, it's still going to take them hours to get all those people
He's a
off
brave man to be going aboard, because if I was on it, I'd want to get off.
I wouldn't want to be in his position tonight either.
No, not at all. All right, in other news now, an asteroid is just 24 hours away, Vetus, from passing by Earth. Now, you know, we dodged the Mayans around Christmas time,
That's
Jennifer.
right, but now we've got this. Scientists say it could contain, this is what's interesting, some $200 billion worth of precious metals. The asteroid is expected to travel about 17,000 miles from our planet. Experts say it does not pose any threat.
Man, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
for that rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just, and it's easy. Just slow it down and just bring it home.
Yeah, as you would say, we need a bigger net.
Where you?
Let's catch that bad boy.
Yeah, exactly. That would be nice.
Anyway, it looks like I said it in a horrible accent. You usually
Yeah, that was very good. It was a kind of New England-y.
It was poorly done. Anyway, I'll stick to this. Here's what's going on. It looks like in our forecast, though, we're watching another storm system that's going to give us a chance for a little bit of rain, snow mix as we get into late Friday. So we're going to watch this closely. Right now on the satellite radar, there's a little area of low pressure up there towards parts of Michigan and Ontario, Canada, that's dropping a little snow. But that's not the low we're talking about. It'll be a developing low just south of St. Louis that's going to develop and start to make its way over parts of Tennessee. So we're watching this area here. This is the area of low pressure that is going to stay to the north of us, but we'll have a secondary low along that front that's going to develop and track across parts of the south and make its way across towards Baltimore as we get towards Friday night into Saturday early mornings. So we're going to watch that very closely. So here's what's happening. A little closer look, you can see that activity is going to continue to push on out of the area by Saturday afternoon. Right now, out there looking at broken clouds, mostly clear skies. 42 degrees still holding downtown in the Inner Harbor. Winds are calm, so relatively decent night. Not too bad, but the clouds will thicken up as we go through the late overnight. Frederick, 28. 34 in Westminster, down in Annapolis, 39 degrees. Laurel at 28, and then across in Chestertown, looking at 38 degrees. Looks like on the satellite radar composite, we'll continue to see broken clouds for the immediate time, but we'll see more clouds building in through the overnight, becoming mostly cloudy for your morning commute into the afternoon as the system builds in. In fact, looking at the timeline here, when that precip arrives, looking at the morning rush hour, dry conditions, just some clouds scattered with a little mixture of sun. Clouds thicken up as we go through the afternoon, about 4 o'clock down south of D.C., looking at that precip. This model run shows most of the activity on the eastern shore, but we have a chance for a little of that snow mixing in over the area, so a couple of the models aren't matching up as far as showing where the precip will be or who will get the most of it. But I'm thinking it's going to be right along that I-95 corridor, a chance kind of like what we saw the other night across parts of the area. So this model is showing how much snow potential is out there, maybe a tenth of an inch to a half inch over parts of the area closer to the PA line, a better chance to get a little bit on the ground. But I think it's just going to be wet roadways, and it looks like this will move out relatively quickly. So it looks like for your forecast tomorrow, Baltimore County, we'll see mostly cloudy skies, west wind at 5 to 10. Perry Hall, 53 degrees. Baltimore looking at 54. Up in Parkton, we're looking at 52 degrees. Over in Carroll County, looks like we will see those temperatures topping out right in the mid-lower 50s. Westminster, 50 degrees, as well as Eldersburg, about 51 degrees. So as we zoom out once again, looking at that system making its way on out of here, it looks like we'll see this storm system to the north, move to the north, and then this is going to develop by the mid-afternoon, and we'll start getting that precip in, and then it's going to be a chance of that rain-snow mix around 9, 10 o'clock, and then it moves on out of here relatively quickly. So I think it's not going to leave a lot on the ground as it heads on out of here. So here's what it looks like for the forecast extended down the road. It looks like we'll see that rain-snow mix after we get temperatures 54 degrees. Then we'll see that mixing going on late Friday night into Saturday morning. Temperatures drop to 38 for Saturday. More sunshine on Sunday, 37 degrees. And as we round out the rest of the 7-day, looks like we have another system on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting to clear up across the region.
Thanks so much, Venus. Can you use an extra $100? It's all part of our February contest on Fox 45 Morning News. We are drawing a $100 winner each and every hour during Fox 45 Morning News. Now to enter, just go to facebook.com/FoxBaltimore and click on the February tab. Then watch Fox 45 Morning News starting at 5 a.m. to see if you are a winner. Good luck.
A dangerous chemical found in cookware, the painful condition it could cause in women.
And the big surprise one clerk had for people robbing his store after the break.
A chemical found in common things like carpets and cookware may increase a woman's chance of getting osteoarthritis. The chemical is known as PFC, and there are 2 types of that chemical that are linked to osteoarthritis. Researchers studied 4,000 men and women and did not find the same connection to the chemical and arthritis in men.
Fox 45 wants to help you get fit. The Be More Healthy Expo returns to Baltimore Saturday, February the 23rd. That's next week, a week from Saturday. You can get health screenings, see 3 stages of live entertainment, a fit and fun kids zone, and much, much more. The Be More Healthy Expo starts at 10 a.m. at the Baltimore Convention Center on February the 23rd. We'll see you there.
A store clerk defends himself when he is confronted by a robber. Brian Patel is quickly becoming an expert on fighting off crooks. The Massachusetts store clerk managed to scare off the bad guy who came into the Lucky 7 grocery Tuesday afternoon demanding money. In this security video, Patel pulls out a sword that he kept there for very good reason.
This guy must be stupid because I got the bigger knife than him, and either he's gonna get killed or he's gonna get hurt, either one. And he made the right choice to go away.
Well, just over a year ago, inside the same store, Patel fought off another robber. In that confrontation that you can see right here, the suspect had a knife, but that didn't stop Patel. He punched the guy in the face, even as he was being stabbed. Patel says the sword was in his store back then. He just couldn't get to it.
You know, just shop at Patel's store, all right? Just buy what you need and leave, because Patel, he's not taking any prisoners.
Well, he's taking care of business, for
Yeah.
sure. A warning for Apple users. Your iPhone may not be as secure as you think.
Yeah, and tonight's Word on the Web, Carrie Pierce now explains why a passcode may not be enough protection.
A security flaw in Apple's latest software update could allow hackers to access your phone. That's according to a new video posted to YouTube by a user who tried it. Apparently, a bug in Apple's iOS 6.1 software lets anyone bypass your password lock. The method involves making and immediately canceling an emergency call and holding down the power button twice. The hacker is then able to make calls, listen to your messages, and change your contact list. They can also access your photos. As best we can tell, there's no immediate way to safeguard against it, but Apple is working on a fix. A spokesperson released this statement saying, Apple takes user security very seriously. We are aware of this issue and will deliver a fix in a future software update. Apple has already come under fire for 2 similar bugs that were pointed out in previous versions of their mobile operating system. I'm Carrie Pierce, and that's your Word on the Web.
The O's made the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. What Dan Duquette says they need to do to repeat their success. Next in Sports Unlimited.
And an injured turtle gets new life, the high-tech invention that's helping her swim again.
'12 was an incredible season for the Orioles. 15 years of losing came to an end after a 93-69 record, and after a relatively quiet offseason, the Orioles are ready to start 2013. Pitchers and catchers reported on Tuesday the starting rotation, the biggest question going into camp. Jason Hamill, Wei-Yin Chen are the only starters with guaranteed spots, but pitching isn't what Dan Duquette says is the key to another playoff run for him. It all starts with defense.
You've got the foundation of the 3 Gold Glovers. You got Wieters, Jones, and J.J. Hardy. So I think the identity of the team is as a good defensive team. In my experience, when you have a good defensive team, I think it gives the pitchers a lot of confidence, and you'll see some of these young pitchers improve too.
To the world champion Ravens, and good news from the injury front. Terrell Suggs is not going to have surgery on that torn bicep. Suggs sought a second opinion on the injury and has decided to rehab rather than go under the knife. The 30-year-old Suggs suffered the injury December 2nd against the Steelers, but played all the way through the pain to the Super Bowl. And the Ravens have lost quarterback Dennis Dixon from their practice squad. He signed a 2-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, reuniting him with his college coach at Oregon, Chip Kelly, who's now the Eagles head coach. Dixon has 3 starts in his 5-year NFL career, all of them with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Noted Eagle fan Jeff Barn excited about that one. Jason Hamill talks about starting opening day, and hear from Towson coach Pat Scarry on the Tigers turnaround. That's coming up at 11:30 on the Late Edition.
A turtle gets prosthetic flippers, why it took more than 20 tries to perfect the fins here, and what makes this pair much different from the previous versions.
And coming up in just 5 minutes on the Late Edition, you are looking live at the cruise ship Triumph, finally docked in Mobile, Alabama. We'll have new information on the end of its nightmare voyage. And a big surprise during a raid on a suspected meth lab. What police found instead of drugs.
A disabled turtle is giving a new pair of prosthetic flippers.
Yuu-Chan showed off her new fins Monday at the Suma Aqua Life Park in western Japan. The female loggerhead was found tangled in a fishing net back in 2008. Since then, researchers have fitted her with 27 different pairs of flippers. Unlike the previous versions, which were painful to wear, this new set is attached to a soft vest that just slips over her head.
It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?